Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Thursday's edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live. I'm Paul Dottino. He is Jonathan Casillas, and we're going to be here for the next hour or so to talk Giants football and maybe other NFL topics, should you be so inclined. You can give us a call at 201-939-4513, 201-939-4513. And don't forget, this show, not just being live, it's also on the archive at giants.com/podcast and all of your favorite podcast platforms everywhere. Now, having that gotten out of the way, there was some news today, Jonathan. I want to get to it right off the top of the show because everybody knows that, Giants had 7 draft choices this past year that they were able to use. They had signed, I guess it was 5 of their picks already. And then reportedly this morning, it's not confirmed yet, at least I don't believe it was confirmed yet, but there was a report by Aaron Wilson, the media fellow out of Texas, that the Giants had indeed been able to ink their first-round draft choice, the cornerback out of Maryland, Deontay Banks, who, quite frankly, again, the Giants had to trade up 1 pick to go to number 24 when they made the deal with Jacksonville to secure his services.
Oh, I mean, it's always good when business is handled, right? It's always good when business is out the way and you can put that behind you and worry about what you got to do. Deontay Banks, tremendous player. I think he's going to have a good career. Playing in his defense under Wink Martindale, that's awesome. And it's always good to get that stuff figured out before you really get going, before you really get in the thick of it. Because they're just starting OTAs. Is this the second week? Am I mistaken? Or is it the
they're
week?
In the second phase of the offseason program. OTAs begin on Monday.
Next week. Okay. So second phase, week 2 of the offseason program, right? So it's good to get that stuff figured out. And you got 1 guy left to figure out. I'm pretty sure they're going to get that done sooner than later.
That's the second-round pick, John Michael Schmitz, the center out of Minnesota. He is the only one of the 7 draft choices who has yet to sign. Now, it was different back in the day when they didn't have rookie salaries slotted by their draft number. And, I could always tell you folks, it was such a media circus every time the training camp opened because guys were always unsigned. And then that first day or 2 of training camp, everybody's running around all over the place trying to find out if they can get a hold of the agent or get a hold of the player, or if they can get a hold of, in those days, it was George Young as the GM. What's going on? Is the guy coming in? Are you guys getting close? When do you expect them? It was insane. It was like chasing after a needle in a haystack, trying to find out if all of the rookies were going to be in on time. And invariably, there was always 1 or 2 that were going to wind up holding out for a short period of time. But when the NFL went to the slotted draft pick salaries, which, of course, was part of the CBA, that changed everything, Jonathan, because it took the business out of the hands of the negotiators, and it basically said, okay, look, there's going to be a couple of things you can tweak, the guarantee, the bonuses, that kind of stuff. But the truth of the matter is, we kind of know what you're going to get. You kind of know what you're going to get. And there's not a lot of wiggle room there.
Oh, yeah. And there was another thing that bothered me, and I'm sure it kind of, pissed off a lot of people or aggravated a lot of people, that these rookie quarterbacks were getting paid if they got picked first or second, especially first overall. Sam Bradford, Jamarcus Russell are 2 people that come to mind. They're getting paid $40-50 million guaranteed with 0 snaps proven in the NFL. That was a big issue with me.
No question.
And
we're
talking
a lot
about,
of guys.
Yeah, we're talking about, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady back in those 2011, 2012 when they was kind of like those guys, or 2009, 2010. And these guys are coming in from college, no snaps, and they're getting very equitable money to the top quarterbacks in the NFL. And I feel like that was a big problem. I think that was a big issue. Jamarcus Russell, I hate to throw any dirt on his name. I'm not trying to do that, but he was a guy that was unproven, got a lot of money, and didn't pan out. Sam Bradford he'd been number 1 pick overall. If I'm not mistaken, he was like a $70 million contract or something like that. It was absurd. And he actually played out a decent career. He started a lot of games in the NFL, not really that Pro Bowl, all-pro type of guy on a consistent basis, but he did okay. But then there had to be some type of median. There had to be something that the NFL and the teams need to figure out, and I think they did that. And that not only kind of alleviates that problem, but the problem that you're talking about, getting stuff done, getting the business figured out before it really goes. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to be worried about, as a player or a team, you don't want to be worried about money. You don't want to be worried about numbers. You want to be worried about these guys playing and how good are they actually playing and how do they fit into this scheme, into this team.
I think it was actually the veterans who went to the players union and said, this whole rookie contract thing's getting out of hand.
Absolutely.
As you discussed. And they were able to negotiate in that CBA some years ago that we're going to slot, there's going to be a rookie salary cap, and we're going to slot the prices. And I think that lessened the resentment of a lot of veterans who, when they saw these rookies coming in, making mega millions, and in a lot of cases making a lot more, not just equitable with the veteran players, but in some cases making more than some guys who had already put vested years into the league. It was insulting.
Yep.
So that was one of the really good business decisions the league made years ago.
Yeah, and I'm not saying they have a lot of questionable decisions, but I think that's something, especially because I was in the league when that happened, and me being a veteran player.
That's why I'm bringing it up.
Right, me being a veteran player, they basically took that money and kicked it to the veteran players.
Yeah.
You know, so I definitely appreciated that for sure. You know, but I always, you know, I always, for me, it's like, you know, if you can play 10 years in the NFL, I don't care how much you played, you're a proven player. You know, you had dreams of playing in the NFL. Maybe you had dreams of being an all-pro player. Even if you didn't make that, you're still success in the NFL. You know, I played 9 years, and I had some starts. I was a captain of the New York Giants, and I've played a lot, but I had to earn everything, every single thing, especially being undrafted, you know. And I think a lot of guys like myself, when I was playing, some of these guys that were coming in unproven, getting so much money, it's like, man, this league is hard to play in, man. Who knows how good these guys are going to be coming in, you know, and that was something that we thought about. That was something that we talked about, of course, as veteran players, and they definitely figured that out. And now moving forward, it's like now the veterans and the quarterbacks, these quarterbacks now are up into the $50 million a year. So we used to do $50 million overall. Now they're doing $50 million a year, and this was not even 10 years ago.
Yeah, the numbers are insane.
It's insane.
One other point that I want to get to about the rookies, and we'll get to your phone calls in just a couple of minutes, but I do want to get another issue here clarified by Jonathan, because, you know, every year the number one draft choice, when he comes into a locker room, gets obligatory duties.
Yeah.
Whether it's he's got to pick up the tab for this or that, or he's got to bring in the donuts every week. You know, he's got to carry equipment. There's always something that the number one pick is going to have to do to pay his, quote, dues during his rookie season for being that glamour boy, getting tagged as a first-round draft choice. Do you have any memories of particular first-round picks that you'd like to share with us where they had to, let's just say, do some menial tasks?
Yeah, so my first year in New Orleans, Malcolm Jenkins, you know, Jersey guy, he was the first-round draft pick, and I think we spoke about this before. They would take, you know, the younger guy. Well, it'd be a defensive or a dinner, you know, mostly it was a defensive dinner. So it wasn't really strictly position group all the time. But during a year, it'd be like 12 guys or whatever the case may be. And then guys would split the tab usually. But the DBs, when Malcolm Jenkins was there, they went out during training camp when they were like 13, 14 deep. So if he would have did that same number during the season, I'd have been 8 maybe 9.
Yeah.
And they made Malcolm give them, I think it was $1,000, if not more than that, to Best Buy. So he had to take the guys to Best Buy and give them whatever, $1,000 gift certificate or whatever the case may be, like basically a shopping spree on Malcolm Jenkins. And you did it to 4 or 5 guys that didn't even make the team. So I don't know if that was like Roman Harper's idea, one of the older vets, you know, Randall Gay, one of those older guys, Tracy Porter, one of those older guys that was in the room that maybe was like, we're going to get Malcolm. Because Malcolm wasn't as cooperative as rookies in the past, right?
Okay.
And then also I remember this, Patrick Robinson. You remember him? He was a corner.
Sure.
And it was either the next year or the following year when the Giants, the Saints drafted him in the first round, And he was another one of those rookies that really wasn't cooperative and probably wasn't taking pads back, off the practice field.
Yep.
Maybe wasn't getting food when they asked for food, little stuff like that.
You don't want to make those mistakes.
Paul, they stole this man's car.
Oh, no.
They took it and they parked it at Zephyr Field, which is, I don't know, a couple 100 yards away, like a quarter mile, if not a half a mile away from the facility. And they drove it over there. They parked it over there. And I used to take my time in the practice facility. So I'm staying, maybe an hour after. And he comes back in sweating, man, I don't know where my car at, man. These guys took my car. But that was, I don't think it was no hard feelings past that day because eventually he ended up finding his car, of course. But that was some things that the guys did. And I was always, they didn't do stuff like that to me, especially early because I was undrafted. And they do a lot of stuff like that during training camp. And being an undrafted guy, they don't know if I'm going to make the team or not. So they're not really hazing me. I had to pay for dinner, I think once. I split the bill, which was awesome to split the bill instead of taking the whole bill on myself being undrafted.
Well, because football guys can eat, okay? Football guys can eat.
Absolutely. And they're going to get that bottle of wine. They're going to get that $70 steak. Oh, yeah, man. So that was kind of the stuff we used to do. I remember one time, one of the rookie linebackers was kind of talking a lot of smack and talking like up to a lot of veterans, and he was doing it to veterans that he didn't know, like guys that wasn't like to him worthy to give him crap. Or I'm not going to take your pads, bro. You didn't play last year. And it's like, bro, that's not how this works. It's a rite of passage.
No.
And it's not, if you take it like that, then it's going to be worse. You're going to get it worse.
That's right.
So what we did was we taped him up to the pole. We taped him up to the goalpost in the practice facility. And we were pouring like Gatorade, water. And then this was bad too. And they did this to Malcolm as well. They would get duct tape and reverse it, like basically like double stick tape.
Okay.
And they would like rub it on their legs to like mess up their hair.
Oh.
It was bad. Like it was bad for some guys. And I don't know if you could even do that anymore, Paul.
I doubt it.
I don't know if you could do that anymore.
It. Yeah. Speaking of stolen cars, I helped I conspired with Michael Strahan to steal O.C. Umenyiora's Cadillac at training camp.
How did that go?
O.C. was
O.C. young? Was he a rookie?
I think it was a couple of years in.
Oh, so that's different.
He wasn't a rookie.
That's different.
He wasn't a rookie.
That's different.
And he was a number 2, second round pick. But he was in a couple of years, and he had just bought this brand new Cadillac.
Oh, my gosh.
And we were up at Albany for Giants training camp. And Michael wanted to steal O.C.'s caddy. So we were at lunchtime, and so he had me keep O.C. occupied, talking to him and turning his head the wrong way so that he could sneak behind him. He I don't know how he got, here's where I'm innocent. I don't know how he got his keys, okay? But he had O.C.'s keys. And while I'm occupying O.C., Michael's going behind him, and I see it. And Michael's got the keys, and he's like, no, don't say anything. Hops in the car and pulls away, drives away with the car. O.C.'s done talking to me, and then he turns around, he sees his car is gone, and he freaked out. He absolutely freaked. And what happened to my car? Paul, my car was right away. Wow. He was totally, and I had to play dumb. I couldn't give up Michael Strahan. I mean, come on. So I totally low-keyed it.
Yeah.
And O.C. was sweating.
I know he was mad.
He was
pissed off.
sweating.
Did he get his car back that day? Do you know?
Fortunately, about 15 minutes later, Michael came driving up to where the lunchroom was at Albany. And he comes driving up and he parks the car there, gets out of the car, and he starts calling, O.C., O.C. O.C. comes out of the lunchroom, my car! You got me, you so-and-so, blah, 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 blah. And O.C. looks at me and he goes, did you know? I'm like, O.C., it's Stray. I can't. I said, come on, I can't be turning in Stray. I said, he's like, and Michael loved it. Michael was just,
for sure.
He was laughing so hard I thought he was going to pass out.
Yeah.
Because O.C. had flipped.
And these are training camp stories.
Brand new caddy.
These are training camp stories. and I hope they're still doing little stuff like that. You know what I mean? Maybe not to the scale of, only certain people could pull stuff like that off. Well, Michael Strahan.
He's Michael Strahan.
Yeah. He could do stuff like that. I don't know if I was my first few years pulling stunts like that,
I had a promise O.C. that I would never do it again.
Okay.
I said, hey, this was Michael.
Because you don't know how them guys going to react to it.
No.
You know?
Oh, he was.
Some guys see red, man.
I think, it was more the sweat pouring off his forehead because he was like nervous. Really freaking out.
Got you a little nervous, didn't it?
Oh, he was. He was. Anyway, he forgave me.
I hope so.
Thank goodness.
I hope so.
I knew he was going to forgive Michael.
Right.
My worry was he going to be okay with me?
Right. Because you be around the building. You're around.
201-939-4513. And don't forget, folks, when you go to the Giants site, there's all kinds of programming there for you, including the Giants Huddle, where you could find all of your favorite front office people and favorite media folks who do extensive interviews. You can also find that at giants.com/podcasts, all of your podcast platforms. And don't forget, you can leave a positive review, and that'll help make sure that the program continues. And Giants fans, take your fandom to the next level with a season ticket membership. Stay connected to the club all year round, not just on game days. Memberships are now available for the 2023 season. To learn all about your exclusive member benefits, visit giants.com/tickets. Limited inventory is available. And finally, don't forget about Giants TV. It brings original video content and game highlights on demand and direct to Big Blue fans. Giants TV is free. It's on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire TV, and the Giants mobile app. We've gotten those PSAs out of the way, which means it's time for you, folks. 201-939-4513. Want to try to get to a lot of callers here. I'm with Jonathan Casillas. Let's go. Who is first up online here, Dom? Let's see. You got me calling Cliff. Cliff in New York. You're first on the show. Hello.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Hi.
Great to hear these stories
What's up, Cliff?
about the rookies. That's kind of what I was planning on asking about anyway. I wanted to talk about the schedule. First, especially how it ends, the last 3 weeks. But before I get to that question, I was kind of nervous about the schedule, and it occurred to me, wait a minute, we have a good team now, and nobody in the building at 1925 there is worried about who they're going to play. They're going to show up every week totally happy with whoever they're playing and looking forward to it. So why can't I?
Before you go anywhere, it's always about when you play them. You know who you're going to play. There's nothing you can do about that. The NFL sets that. But it's when you play them, because you don't know who's going to be hot, who's going to be cold, who's going to be injured, who's going to be available. That's really the biggest factor you have to deal with the schedule.
Right. I understand. But you were teaching us that now that we're a good team, we're going to get more primetime games, so get used to it. But now that we're a good team, the league is planning for us to play other good teams.
That's how it works. That's how it works. You know, when somebody's good, and you, especially in a strong market like New York, you know, the teams, the Giants get a lot of viewership, especially when they're winning, you know, and then you talk about the New York metropolis area. That's a lot of people, you know. The Giants have a lot of fans all throughout the country. So if the Giants are doing well, people are going to want to see it. People are going to, want to pay money to watch the Giants. You know, that's just how it works. You know,
there's only a few games that depending upon your standings and your position slotting the year before. So that's not that big a deal. What it really comes down to is the divisional rotation. Now, last year, the Giants had a favorable divisional rotation where they played teams from a division that was weaker. This year, the divisional rotation is the AFC East, which unfortunately picked a really good year for them to be good and bad for the Giants.
Yeah, I didn't like that the NFC teams we're going to get outside the division was the Packers, the Saints, and Seattle, because those are the organizations I've had the most respect for over the years. No matter what their record was the previous year, they always seemed to be able to be in contention no matter who their quarterback was. And but anyway, my big question was the last 3 weeks, with the Eagles 2 out of 3. And everybody knows that a big major goal was to be more competitive with them. And so my question is, they teach us that towards the end of the season, the rookies aren't rookies anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking about the new guys, but I'm also thinking about the guys that were hurt last year that didn't get a lot of snaps in games. that presumably will still be with the team if they can make the competition. But I think they're still on rookie contracts, and I think they will be here. The question is, we have guys that were hurt, it seems like, in just about every position group.
Yeah.
And my question is can we think about some guys being more likely to come back strong because of the position they play? I guess I'm talking mainly about knee injuries, but there's other injuries too. You know what I mean? In other words, does it help if you're an inside linebacker? Does it help if you're a quarterback versus an inside linebacker, or a running back versus a cornerback, that kind of thing, when you're coming back from these kinds of things?
All right, Cliff, we'll take your question, and we'll please stay tuned, and I'll get Jonathan's opinion on this, because specifically, I think I know who you're talking about. The Giants have Darian Beavers, a rookie out of Cincinnati last year, who, because of a knee injury, was lost for the season. Right now, it looks like he has got a great opportunity to compete at one of the inside linebacker spots. I know they love him, and they think he could be a starter. Well, how much will last season being spent on IR impede his progress this year?
It depends how he responds, how his body responds. You know, everybody's not Adrian Peterson. I feel like he's one of the anomalies that had an ACL or very strong knee injury and came back and probably was better the year after. He rushed for 2,000 yards. And you just don't see that. You know, you just don't see it. So it might take him a while to get his feet underneath him. You know, he might not be that guy that he could possibly be or once was, and it might take him a while to get to that. He may never return to that. So we may get Beavers of maybe the 90% Beavers that we probably would have had last year before the injury, if you understand what I'm saying. Or he might be able to come back and have a stronger year this year, because, he didn't do anything last year, not playing at all, and actually contribute and play because the knee's intact. And just because he didn't play, that doesn't mean he didn't get better. You know what I mean? Like, he probably got better, mentally more prepared. He's a second-year pro, even though he didn't play any games last year, but he's definitely been in the system for 2 years. He's been learning. He understands how this thing works, NFL. He understands how it works, the ins and outs of it. And maybe not the ins and outs of it, but he has a little bit of bearing and understanding of what it is. And it's not, he had rest too. When you go from the end of your junior year to basically the end of your rookie year, you're constantly working. You don't have no rest, because you got to do well for your senior year. Mm-hmm. You got combine training. You got different games, Senior Bowl, Shrine Bowl, all that good stuff. Combine, then you got right into OTAs, rookie minicamp, right into OTAs. So you don't really have time to rest and get your mind away from football. So I think he was able to do that in these last 24 months or whatever, since right before his senior year. Right. That, I think he's had some time to get away from ball, and I think he's had some time to reflect on the type of person he is. These are all huge things that go into a younger player, an unproven player, a player that we've never seen on film in terms of NFL play, right? Mm-hmm. And then a guy coming off an injury. It has a lot to do with a mentality more than physically. And that's why I combine both of them, because it's like, number one, you got to see how that knee's doing. If he is back to the Beavers that we think he is, or not even we think he is, that he thinks he is, or he knows that he is. And then number two, I think he had a year of experience, even though it was on the shelf, but he has a year underneath the shield, underneath the NFL. He is a pro. He's going through 1 year of it. Yeah, he hasn't played, so he had to get used to traveling. He got to get used to stuff like that during the year, but he understands, he knows people in the building. He knows how practices works. He understands the playbook a little bit better. So all of that has a play in it. But if he can bounce back and be somewhat of the guy he was before injury, there's no question that he's going to play a lot, and he's going to be a very good player for the New York Giants.
Now, it's often said a guy coming off of an ACL, that first year, maybe he'll get 80% of them. And it's going to take a second season before you see the best that he's got to offer after the rehab.
At least, for sure. Yep.
So it remains to be seen exactly where he's going to land once he gets back on the field. But this also begs another question, at least the call does. The Giants' bye week is in week 13. Now, on one hand, it gives you a second win for the stretch run, perhaps for your veterans. But for your rookies, holy smokes, by the time you get through training camp and the 3 preseason games, and now you got to get all the way to week 13 until you catch your breath, realistically, Jonathan, I know for a fact that there are a lot of rookies by your 9th or 10th game,
Yep.
they're sucking wind.
That's about the rookie wall right there.
Right?
Yep.
And they're like, man, I need a breath.
Yep.
13's a long way to wait for those guys.
Absolutely. And you got a lot of young guys on the roster. And like I was saying earlier, you don't really rest. Like after you play your senior year in football, you don't rest. You got to go right into training. And you're just all locked in with football. You don't get literally no time off. And the guys that are really serious about their craft, you can't really take time off. You're consistent. So when you look at the NFL schedule, and me and Lance talked about it, me and you talked about it last time. Number one, you look at that first game. Number two, you look at that bye week. You got to see what that bye week is. You got to see when are you getting a little bit of time off, when are you getting the rest, right? And because they're playing so late, it's almost 2 seasons of a regular college schedule, right? You're talking about the preseason games. You got the preseason going into that, and then you add 13 weeks on top of that. That's 16 games almost.
That's a lot.
Not including the prior weeks in training camp. That is a very long time to get a break from football, because you do need a break. You need to take a little time off just to kind of wind down a little bit.
Now, in Beaver's case, because he was IR last year and he wasn't allowed to practice, remember, when you're on injured reserve, you don't even get to practice with those guys. It's all about mental and film work. That's all you get. Will he be in a better position to navigate a 13-week schedule before the bye, or till the bye comes in week 13, because he had a year off, so to speak?
Oh, yeah, for sure. He's not in the same category as guys that went through the entire grind last year, and guys coming from college. He's been working, though. Let's not get it twisted. When you have an injury like that, you're constantly doing rehab. You're constantly in. But it's not all ball.
Well, he's not getting hit.
That's what I was just about to say. You're not physically taking a beating. You're literally getting your body better. And I speak about, when I talked about Adrian Peterson last time, the reason why Adrian Peterson looks stronger the next year, because when you're working on one specific thing, you work on everything. You got time to work on everything. So he had a year of not only getting his lower body and his legs right, but to correct any type of physical, structural ailments that he had. Maybe he was misaligned. That's probably the reason why he had surgery in the first place. And then you get stronger up top because you're not had that banging on you. Like, I could not lift throughout the season in any particular year. And a lot of guys are like that, where they have nicks throughout their shoulders, so they're not lifting. So he's a little bit stronger than he was last year. He probably strengthened up the entirety of his lower body, not just the knee, but his ankles are probably stronger. His legs are probably stronger. Probably has more flexibility. So he probably all around better athlete, maybe not as explosive as he once was, or maybe he is.
We don't know.
We don't really know.
We don't know.
But being like, I was on IR early in my career. Victor Cruz is on IR early in his career. And we've had long careers after those IR years with really good years right after surgery. So it can happen, and we all hope that it can happen, because I think we saw some great things out of him in preseason last year.
Look at Amani Toomer.
He got injured early too.
Blew out his ACL twice.
See, it's there. You can do it. You can do it. And it shows a lot about who you are as a person, too, when you can respond and come back off of those injuries like that.
So it's going to be interesting when you watch some of the younger players. And I guess the call is probably also referring to even Pinnock and Belton at the safety spot, guys who were banged up and didn't go through a whole season of action. Flott was another one. Aaron Robinson. Right?
A lot of guys.
Corner.
Wandale Robinson.
There's a bunch of young
guys.
players who have missed some time here, and it remains to be seen now how they will be able to respond in the 2023 season. 201-939-4513 is our phone number. The lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. Tom from Stratford, you're next on BBKL. Hello.
Happy Thursday, gentlemen.
Hello. Happy Thursday.
Listen, Jonathan, I called you last week, and I was the guy ranting against the NFL and the way I think they mistreat the players. And I'd like just to touch on that point again, but if it's an upsetting subject matter, I'll talk about.
Well, I'd rather you not repeat it. If you've got something new, that's okay.
We was talking about the scheduling, right?
We're not into repeats here. We're trying to give new programming every day.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying that I think that when I got out of college, all right, I was eligible for my company's pension plan the first day I walked into the factory. And I don't see why the NFL union pension plan can't cover the players the first day they step on the field. And I also think you guys should get 20 years of ortho care after your career and lifetime neurological care. So that's all I wanted to say. I think you guys should hold up.
I appreciate that.
All right, Tom. Yeah, look.
I'm all for that, for sure.
Unfortunately, we don't get involved in the business aspects. That's all negotiated between the ownership and the labor union. So in all honesty, I appreciate the sentiment, but there's not a whole lot we can add to that or say.
No, but I want to say, though, I've never met one individual person who did not support the players in any battle against the owners. So players need to know the fans support them 100%.
And we appreciate you guys for that, for sure.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, he bring up an interesting point, and I was thinking of that before too, because the kid last year, Harmon, what's the kid name that got hurt from Buffalo? That heart stopped on the field.
Oh,
what's his name?
Dom, I'm forgetting his name. Hamlin. Right,
I said Harmon. Yeah. When I was concerned because he was in his third year, if I'm not mistaken, so he's not vested quite yet.
Okay.
And I was thinking, like, if
he's coming back, by the way.
I know, that's crazy.
God bless him.
God bless him for sure. But I was thinking, if he had complications because of this injury for the rest of his life, he's not vested yet. He doesn't have full insurance coverage, like for limited amount of years, let alone lifetime, and I think you need that, especially if you get hurt from football. I mean, that's workman's comp and all that good stuff too, but it ain't guaranteed for everybody though, Paul.
I don't want to speak out of turn here, but there are some organizations, and the Giants are one of the classiest organizations in this league, if not the classiest, who in certain situations that are outside the normal bounds, they will step up and do for that player.
Yeah.
It does happen.
Yeah, that's good.
I know firsthand
Yep.
of some instances where that's happened.
Yep.
Now, that doesn't cover everybody.
Right.
And that's your point.
Yep.
Maybe there should be some type of policy that's more broad-ranging. But I can tell you that there are a number of organizations who, in the situation that you just discussed, would find a way to help out that guy.
Yeah. I mean, Ryan Shazier, he gets hurt. And if I'm not mistaken, the Steelers finished his contract out, if I'm not mistaken. Andrew Luck, he retired. They gave him a lot of money, if I'm not mistaken, too.
I don't know what happened with Luck. I don't know about that.
I know they gave him a lot of money, though. I don't know how much they gave him, but they gave him a lot of money. And it's not about the money. It's about the care, you know? Like, if somebody gets, you hurt where they can't perform, like, whatever duties or actually work, or even with the CTE stuff with the brain, even be competent enough to actually do work and service, whatever the case may be, and that's, I think, a direct cause from football. The NFL should be responsible for it, no matter how much time the guy's played in the NFL. Like if a guy comes in and, severs his spine in the first year and he can't walk, or he has limited range of motion or limited walking, the NFL should undoubtedly take care of that. Because it happened on the field, and I'm, like I said, workman's comp and all that good stuff, and you can sue and have a settlement against the league and stuff like that, but it should be in the legislation. It should be in the CBA that I think it should be lifetime insurance, because my insurance is about to be up. I've been retired 5 years.
I think DeMaurice Smith, right, who's the executive director of the NFLPA right now, I think he might be in his last year. So there's going to be a vote taken by the players to find out who the new head's going to be sometime very soon. And it'll be interesting how the new executive director approaches issues like this when they talk to the league again.
And that's something that the players and the veterans and the retired players, that's something that everybody's been pushing for, is lifetime benefits, lifetime insurance, lifetime coverage from the NFL to take care of guys that, probably can't work to the capacity that once could have if it wasn't for football, and I think that's a lot, and if we're taking steps towards that, I think a lot of guys that has been around the league, in the league, and that's out the league now, like myself, or being a retired player, we're all pushing for that, so I think hopefully whoever that next guy is can figure something out, and it can be a little bit more veteran/retired player friendly than it has been in the past.
201-939-4513. 201-939-4513 is our phone number. Paul Dottino, Jonathan Casillas with you here on Big Blue Kickoff Live. We mentioned earlier during the program that coming up on Monday is the first OTA which is all part of the second phase of the off-season program. As a player, where does that kind of change your off-season direction in terms of what you were doing? Because everybody knows when the season ends, everybody has to decompress for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were still playing, what would that schedule mean to you personally? Not necessarily what the coaches are doing, but how would you be approaching this month on the schedule?
Well, phase one is basically like a real quick check what you've been doing physically for the during the off season.
Well, they call it the strength and conditioning phase.
Yeah, but like literally they ease you into it. Like that first workout is not really hard. And I think that's liability reasons. They ain't trying to get nobody hurt because they don't know what everybody's been doing.
Sure.
So you can't make guys run, 4 300-yard shuttles given you don't know the type of shape that the guys are in, right? So you kind of take it easy. They ease them back in, which I think is an appropriate thing to do. But for me, off-season wise, I will always train myself to be prepared for whatever that date of the first phase one practice or meeting was, because there's always limited amount of stuff, limited classroom stuff, no field stuff, but it's all going to be what you've been doing physically wise. You know, have you been lifting? Have you been running? Are you in shape? Are you not in shape? Have you been eating well? Stuff like that. Because once you're back here in the facility, like this is like every single facility, NFL facility, NBA, all of the top sports, it's a resort here at the facility. They don't have to leave here. They can eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner here. Even though during that time of the year, it's only basically breakfast and lunch, and it's only like a half a day compared to what it's like during the season.
Right.
But you can do everything here. You can get your treatment here. You can get your stretches here. You can get your cold hot tub therapy. Of course, practice. You can lift here.
But we don't have a golf. We don't have a golf course.
We don't have a golf course. We don't have a golf course. But I'm pretty sure there's guys that have access to local golf courses that are not too far away. But it's a one-stop shop. So for me, it was like I love to be in the facility. I love to be here because I get all my work done.
I used to see you all the time.
Yeah. I get all my work done and get my hot tubs and my treatments and hang out with Ronnie Barnes in the training room, make sure I'm getting my extra treatments and stretches and stuff like that, just so I can keep my body going. But before that, I mean, if I was in Jersey, which I was living here, but teams prior, I would be in New Jersey training or in Arizona training just to get ready for that first day to hit the ground running.
Now, I've seen excellent attendance at this off-season program where, again, the teams are not at liberty because it's all voluntary to this point to discuss who is not here or who is maybe periodically coming in and then maybe spending some time away. So no names are going to be discussed here. But I will tell you, this team has had what Dable even said was excellent attendance. Most of the guys are here. And this team is very unified, and they seem to really enjoy themselves being here. Now, you were just talking about the benefits. It makes a lot of sense unless, and there have been some players over the years who have their own personal regimen that they've trusted forever, and they'll tell the GM or the coach, listen, I just want to let you know, I got so-and-so who works with me. This is what we do. They consult on the plan, and they'll go away to do what they do because to this point, it's worked for them. Now, that only happens, though, when the player and the coach and the GM have developed some sense of trust and respect that they know this guy's not going to be goofing off. We know what he's doing.
Yeah, I never really liked that, and I know a lot of guys have their guys.
It does happen.
It does. It definitely does. But I never liked that because I believe, not to say he's an individual, but you're individually doing that by yourself, which is fine, and you're doing what you need to do. But this is a team sport, and as much as you can surround yourself with your teammates, as much as you can learn stuff with them and operate with them, that's going to build that cohesiveness and that bond that I feel like really good teams have, and I think that'll take away from your productivity. Look at Tom Brady. He didn't go to training camp. Was it last year or the year before? He didn't go to training camp. Right. I know he had his little divorce and not little divorce. He had a divorce and everything that he was going through. On. But him not being in training camp, I think, was very detrimental to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because they looked like crap all season long, and they had a lot of the same guys there still. A lot of the same top receivers were there. Tom was there, even though he didn't look like Tom. Mike Evans and him looked lost the whole year. I think that has a lot to do with him being around, and I think when you have a guy like Tom Brady and you see him there, that raises the standard. Now he's not there. What do you think is going to happen to the standard? What do you think is going to happen to the process that they've been used to? I think it throws everything off. I'm not saying that like we know Saquon's working, right?
Oh, he's definitely
I see
working.
stuff for him and OBJ. They're always working. But if we get him in the building, I think that's better for everybody involved. You know, he has to do things on his own because he's actually technically not allowed in the building.
Right, he's not
because he didn't sign. But we know he's getting his work. But it would be advantageous for him to get in here. And you know why, too? Not only just, you know, the camaraderie with your teammates and, you know, the synergy that you're creating, but you get that playbook one more time. You know, you get that playbook one more time, 2 more times. You get it one more time during this time of the year and then one more time in training camp, right? So during the season, they don't go over plays. They go over plays that you're going to run that particular week.
Right.
So this is the time to actually learn terminology, actually learn the different type of, talking about defense, the different type of fronts they'll have, the different type of coverages, the different blitz paths you'll have. So the more times you'll see it, that's when the coach can be a little bit more versatile because the guys are more aware of what they can do, right? And the more guys you have on the same page, I think the better you'll be. I think that's why last year, not to say they weren't a multifaceted defense, because they were, but I think they were very limited because the group of guys didn't have that much experience together. Now you have that year of playing in. Now you have an offseason in. Now another training camp. That's a lot of experience for a young group of guys under 2 years. You know, going into that this season this year, it'll be training camp, season, off season. It's gonna be throw the OTAs in there. Then you got another OTAs, and then you got another training camp. That's 5 times that you will see a playbook over and over and over again. You can't tell me that's not better than twice.
Well, think about this team, too. They've drafted 7 players, and they've signed 11 free agents. All right? So add the math. That's 18 guys.
New faces.
Okay? 18. Minimum of 18 have a legitimate shot at being on the 53. That's a lot of players.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the more time you spend in the building around your teammates, I think the better you'll be. You know, like one of my things I love to be around. Of course, I like my younger guys, but I like to be around the older veterans and see how they work. You know, Drew Brees was always in the facility when I was a rookie. Jonathan Vilma was always in the facility when I was a rookie. And, you know, Vilma kind of took me under his wing. I watched how he worked as a professional, and that made me straighten up and me tighten up. And what I was doing since I was such a young player, you know, so I think it's good when you have representation that's always around and veteran leadership or guys that symbolize of what you think your type of player
Your
you
glue
need on the
guys.
team. Exactly.
Of which Daniel Jones is one. I don't mind telling you he's here
Saquon's
all the
one
time.
too.
Saquon is
That's
one.
why I'm like, bro, we need that guy in the building. Even though,
understand.
Yeah, that's a different situation.
It is.
With that.
Again, he's not allowed.
Yeah, he's
right
not
now,
allowed.
he's not
But you
allowed.
know, as soon as if they do get it done before, I guess the off season, before training camp, he's gonna come. He's gonna show up. He's gonna be in shape. You know, but
he will be.
He got to learn some players. He got to learn who some guys are. You know, he knows who Eric Gray is, but I'm pretty sure there's other guys in that room that they brought in as free agents. He's going to look at and be like, hey, nice to meet you. I'm Saquon. I've never seen you before in my life.
I'm sure he'd like to meet the center, right? John Michael Schmitz, the rookie center. That's a guy he's going to be running up his back a lot this year. All right, 201-939-4513. We've got some lines open. I'm going to get back with another topic, but after the phone call. Charlie from Portland, Maine, you're next on the show. Hello.
Hey, Paul. Hey,
Hi.
JC.
What's up, Charlie?
Hey, JC. Hey, maybe you can help me with this. Look, I have no problem walking on water in the winter. I just have a problem in the summer. Can you got any tips on that?
Walking on water in the summer. Where you going with this, Charlie?
I'm not
Where you
sure,
going with this?
but I think he has actually finally gone off the deep end.
Well, you're JC, right? That's
Oh,
Man, you had to reach for that one.
that was interesting.
Okay.
I'm not that JC.
All right.
I'm the other JC, the not so
Yes,
famous
I
one.
I know.
What's
Hey,
up, Charlie?
Paul, I was just going to say, look, in JC, we got 3 rookies, and the first 3 picks. I'm not sure. I think 2 out of the 3 may start, but they might not start. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't think Hyatt's going to start. Schmidt, he might not start. It depends on how he picks things up. Bredesen, they seem to like him, and he's a vet. So, are they really going to start those three rookies? Banks probably will because Wink kind of loved the guy when they drafted him, but
that doesn't mean he's ready. Wink one.
Right.
He does. Look, Charlie, I hate to say this. Oh man, do not put this on the archive. Charlie, you're right. You're right, Charlie.
You are right.
There is a chance. That none of those top three picks
None
start
of the rookies at
opening
all
day.
start. Yeah.
There is a chance. That is possible. I do think, however, the plan would be for John Michael Schmitz to be the opening day center, if at all possible. They will work with him trying to reach that goal. If he is not ready, he will not start.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree, Charlie. You make a good point, Charlie. I don't mind it. We're good friends, right, Charlie? Me and you are good friends.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to do that. Okay.
He's cool.
You don't
I love his topics. I know he gives Lance probably a little bit more crap than he does me, but you make an interesting point, because the top three picks, they may not play, but then you have some guys on the back end, maybe the 7th round safety, he might end up being a starter. You just don't know. With the depth, with injuries, with the health of players that are in front of them, with talent. Some guys are like, they're going to show up and they're going to play their best ball they've ever played in their life. And I'm talking about some of these young guys. And some of these guys might have a bad year. It happens. And I'm not talking about health-wise. I'm just talking about, they just don't make the plays they have normally made. And then maybe they'll bounce back the year after. Who was the guy the Giants drafted from Georgia who was a really good corner in Georgia, and he came here,
Baker,
and he wasn't that good. He was not that good.
Didn't work out.
He didn't work out.
He had a lot of troubles with a lot of things.
Right, and he was a high draft pick, if I'm not mistaken.
He was a 1.
He was a very athletic cornerback who can do a wide range of things.
The skills were there,
and he just didn't pan out. We've seen it happen, So any of these guys can be tremendous players. Any of these guys can be busts.
Charlie, the important thing, in all honesty, and I'll say this to you because you do like to call up with an immediate pessimistic attitude quite often, and that's with all due respect. I'm being very kind to you right now.
I know.
But in truth, if none of the rookies start week 1, it's not that big of a deal, okay? Because Deonte Banks was drafted for the long term. He is probably going to wind up being cornerback 1 by next year,
right?
In all honesty, and will be here, through a second contract. John Michael Schmitz will probably, if all goes right, be a starter here for 6, 7, 8, 9 years.
Yep.
So what those guys do week 1 in 2023 is not a be-all, end-all. And I know some people are going to say, well, how did your number 1 pick not start opening day and get all freaky? Don't.
Yep.
It's not worth it.
Hey, Charlie, I got a cool story for you, too. Speaking about an undrafted corner in New England, Malcolm Butler, right? Yeah. Malcolm Butler was undrafted. I signed with New England in the middle of the year. I got traded. He was a guy that was 5th, inactive every week, playing on special teams, not really in the defensive rotation like that. I mean, you had Logan. We had some corners that year. We had Revis. We had Browner. We had Logan Ryan. We had Kyle Arrington. And he was 5th or 6th on the depth chart, and he really wasn't playing at all the whole year. But when you watch him, just like the kid from Boise State that played here in the Giants, what's his name? Dante Dion. Tremendous athlete, very good in training camp.
Just needed a little more height.
Very small,
that
though.
Kid could play.
Never could really catch on during the year, but he ended up going to the Rams. But Malcolm Butler, all year long, he was a reserve corner. As the season was ending, he had to move some guys around. He ended up working his way up the depth chart. And even in the Super Bowl, I saw him at halftime. And I looked at him. He looked a little down. I said, bro, how you doing? He's like, man, I ain't really, getting too much work. I said, don't worry. You're going to get a play that come right to you. See that?
Wow.
You never know what happens.
Yeah.
This was the play of his career. Not to say that the kid wasn't an amazing cornerback. He was, but he was an undrafted guy, wasn't playing basically the whole year. I mean, making the roster as an undrafted guy is huge, but then not playing, I think that's not a big deal, right? But to stay steadfast the whole year and be ready when your moment is called, look forward to seeing guys that do stuff like that.
Well, the difference being your first 3 rounds of draft picks, you expect those guys to be competitive
Play.
starters.
Yes.
Okay.
At some point.
So, yes, at some point. You'd like to see it sooner rather than later. But
Right.
in any event, Charlie, so yes, okay? We've now discussed a logical point that you've brought up on the program. We'll mark this down on the calendar as a monumental event.
Hey, can I leave you guys with a
Yes.
question you can ponder?
Sure.
How does a gluten-free family stick together?
Oh, my goodness. Goodbye, Charlie. 201-939-4513 is our number on Big Blue Kickoff Live. You were so kind to him.
Yeah, I'm trying to be kind to everybody.
Lance would be very disappointed in you.
See, like for me, I attack it with kindness. I attack it with love. So if he comes at me, with I don't know, an attitude, or he comes at me with a kind of messed up question, I'm gonna hit him with love.
See,
so maybe next time he'll readjust his position.
My problem is I actually try to listen to him and see if there's a shred of logic before I attack him. And on these rare occasions where he actually comes with something worth at least a couple of crumbs,
Yeah.
I got to tip my cap and say, Charlie, that was a pretty good call.
He's a very consistent caller. So
Anyway, back to the phones at 201-939-4513. Len from Columbia, Maryland is on line 2. Hello.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good to talk to you, Len.
what's up, Len?
Well, here we go again. I get to follow my good friend Charlie, and Paul. I take your approach. I listen to Charlie very closely, and then think through. I think personally, he's right more times than he's wrong.
I wouldn't go there, Len. I would not go there. But he does occasionally find the nut in the middle of the forest.
Yeah. But I'm going to disagree with him on the last call, and I'll get to that in just a second. I wanted to say something about the schedule. Two points of views, guys.
Mm-hmm.
One from the team point of view. It is what it is. It's okay. There, you can find some positives in the sequencing of games. I mean, we knew who the teams were. We just didn't know when we were going to play them and so forth. We even knew where we were going to play them. But
right.
So I think there's some things about the schedule that are positive that work out okay. And when an earlier caller said, we got a better team this year. I'm not too worried about any of them, to be honest with you. Just give me that equality of injuries. Guys are going to get hurt. Just don't let me get wiped out at one position, where I'm playing my 5th tight end or 7th quarterback or something along those lines. But I think it came all right. Now the other viewpoint from a season ticket holder, Jonathan, I don't know. Boy, man, a lot of night games. I'm glad we're not playing at home on Christmas Day. 7
Sundays at 1 on the whole schedule.
Yeah,
7 out of 17.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
No. That's what it is, Len.
Yeah.
7 out of the 17 games are Sunday at 1, whether they're home or away. Only 7 Sundays at 1.
Yeah.
That's not a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, that's not a lot. Not a lot. And of course, I got to do a little traveling to get to them, which I don't mind doing. It's just that's going to make it a little unwieldy. But I'm looking forward to the season. And
Len,
I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there no matter when. I'm going to be there no matter when it is.
Len, real quick, you said that you happy that they're not playing home on Christmas? Did you say that?
Yes, I'm glad that Christmas Day.
I know, but why'd you say that? I don't understand why.
Well, because he does not have to have a ticket and come to the game. He can stay home and watch it.
Okay, that's why I was trying to understand.
Yeah.
And by the way, Len, you may disagree with this, but I think you're going to agree with me. Look, on Christmas, a lot of families and friends party on Christmas. They have Christmas parties. They have opening presents parties and stuff like that.
Right,
What's so bad about having friends and family at your house watching the game?
Yep.
What's so bad about that? We do it on Thanksgiving, don't we?
For a lot of Giants fans, it's going to be good, and it would be for me too. I'm just glad that I don't have to travel on Christmas Day to get to the stadium to see a game.
That's understandable now.
I'm with you. I think a road game on the holiday is not a bad thing at all.
Yep.
Now, if it's home, it interrupts everything because now you have a ticket and you want to use the ticket, and you can't be at home. But if you could have a spread in front of you, why not?
Right. Nice spread. Little party.
Now, while I might complain a little bit about the Packers game on a Monday night in December, if that last Eagles game, the last game of the season, if that game means something, I don't care what time of day we play it. I'm just glad to be there.
Oh, they'll flex it. Trust me. It's going to prime time. If it means something, it's going to prime time.
Oh yeah, I'll be there. I don't care if we play that one at midnight if it means something.
I'm with you.
I'll be glad to see that. Now let me say something about Charlie's point. With all due respect, Charlie, if he's listening. Let me make this bold statement and see what you guys say. You're probably going to jump on me here, but I'm going to say it anyway. If Banks and Schmitz don't start on opening day, they were not the right pick. They were not the right pick.
That's not correct.
Given the roster, given the roster,
Len, that's not correct. You know why?
Okay.
No,
right.
Here's why. Here's why that's not correct.
Okay, go ahead.
Because you don't know what their learning curve is going to be, and some guys have a little bit of a longer learning curve. Maybe they start in week 5 because they're a tad slow in picking it up at the start of the season. Maybe one of those guys tweaks a hammy during training camp and doesn't get enough preseason snaps to be ready.
Oh yeah,
You can't hold that against them.
Yeah, but to be thinking at this point that they might not be. I mean, I understand the injury.
No, you
point,
just
and
have
even
to
the
be
little
realistic.
Even the little nicks and bruises. I mean, I get that, Paulie, but come on, we traded up for the guy in the first round. I mean, if he's healthy going into that first game, he's going to be the starter. You got to write his name in the thing.
Hold on. Jonathan, help me out here. The guy's a corner. Okay, rookie corners have a hell of a learning curve. And they also not only need to know your playbook, they also need to know how to deal with disaster. Okay? There's a lot of mental games that go on with rookie corners in this league.
100%.
And if you're not ready for that, then it's a mistake for the coaches to put you in just because you're a first rounder. That's not a good thing.
Yeah.
All right, I would say that's a determination that scouts and coaching staff make before you trade up in the first round to somebody. I mean, that's something you got to have. Now you're talking about a third and a fourth round pick. Now you're talking about a third and a fourth.
Yeah,
round
but
pick.
you're being very paranoid because you don't know the guy's learning curve till he gets in the building.
Yeah, and with this point too, Len, think about this. What if we put him out there and he's really not that good? So now, with your standards, it's like, okay, he checked the box. He was a good draft pick, but what if halfway through the season he's getting killed the whole year and they bench him? You know what I mean? Like,
John, if he's really not that good, and that's the reason why he's not starting, I'm looking to scout. I'm looking at the guys who bang their shoe on the table, telling me this is a guy we should trade up for. Asking him, what the heck were you looking at?
Len, you are going way off the road here.
I mean, Len, you're not drafting guys that early to start week 1. You're drafting him to have a long career for your organization.
Bingo.
Now, let me say one thing here. Now, remember, this is all. I'm coming from the standpoint of I'm looking at this roster.
Mm-hmm.
I hear you.
And Schmitz is the starting center on opening day if he's healthy.
Well, that's the plan.
That's
the plan.
That's the reason why they got him in the second round.
Paulie, I'm looking at this roster. Banks is the starter on opening day. Tell me the cornerbacks who are going to start in front of him. Don't tell me about learning. Tell me the cornerbacks who have shown to you that they can play in this league.
Flott and Robinson.
Yeah, come on.
Flott and Robinson have both been here for a year.
All right, let me say something.
Actually,
about
Robinson even longer.
Yeah.
You know, I was not a big fan of that draft that year with Flott, but let me. And I saw him in camp, and I love the catch-up speed. I love the way you're playing. Paulie, 170 pounds soaking wet. 17 weeks at cornerback.
But we're not talking about
40 to 45 plays a game.
Len, hold on. We're not talking about putting Banks on the bench for 17 weeks. What you're saying is if he doesn't start week 1, it's a failure. We're telling you that is ridiculous.
Okay. Let's leave it at this because you probably have other callers, and it's always great to talk to you. And you've kept me on for a while, and I really do appreciate that.
All right, Len, go ahead. One more thing, real quick.
In my opinion, Banks and Schmidt are day 1 starters. Hey, thanks for taking my call, guys.
All right, Len. Thank you.
Was Len frustrated at the end right there?
I mean, I just don't know why he would restrict his opinion to 1 week's game.
Right.
I don't get that.
Because what if they all start, all three of them start, and none of them finish the season? What if they do it and they're healthy and they don't finish the season, meaning they weren't good
I'm
enough
going
to
to make
start
it real
week
simple.
one?
What if all three of the first 3 draft picks earn second contracts and wind up being a
Right.
big part of this team for the next 7 or 8 years?
Yep.
But they didn't start,
They didn't
week,
start week
one,
one.
so no,
Right.
no good. Failure. That's bad.
That's interesting. I don't think you can. Len, I get your point. But like I said earlier, the Giants will not draft a guy first round, second round, and third round with the thought that he's going to be a day one starter. It's the thought that this guy can be a help to our program for a good amount of years, not just the first game. Yeah, you think that it'll be good for them to start, but if they're not ready, like Paul alluded to your first point, if they're not ready, they're not ready. Some guys have a little bit of a learning curve. You know, you're teaching a whole new defense, offense to these guys, all new terminology, all new men that they're working with. You know, what if they have an injury, like you said, early in training camp or during training camp?
I'll give you another case. They played Dallas opening day at home. Ben Bredesen right now is the backup center, and he's had some experience doing it, all right? Offensive lineman, been in this league for a few years. What if they think that because of Dallas's front, which is very good, and they run a ton of stunts and a bunch of complex different things, what if they think that, you know what, just for week one, maybe we should start the veteran because he's a little bit better prepared for all the crap that Dallas is going to throw at him, and to throw John Michael Schmitz right out of the gate against that defense might be a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah, I agree. I can see them doing that, but then I also can see John Michael Schmidt actually being a very intelligent offensive lineman.
And that's what we've heard.
And understanding the concepts of defensive linemen and their stunts.
So maybe he's ready.
Yeah, maybe he's ready, but we just don't know.
We don't know.
And we want these guys to be starters. I think we were
Absolutely.
all happy about definitely their top 3 draft picks this year. And we all like, okay, these guys are playmakers in the NFL. But we don't know if they're going to be available week one. We don't know if they're going to be starting or playing at all week one, you know, but we all think that they can have substantial careers in the NFL. But I don't think none of us are like, this guy, when I say us, the broadcast team, I don't think anybody's saying this guy needs to start week one. I don't think we have a guy like that.
I think the coaches would love for that to happen. You would love for every guy that you picked to accelerate his learning curve as quickly as possible so that you can feel comfortable putting him in the starting lineup in week one. That's great. That's a win-win.
Yep.
Wonderful. But if it's not, you don't panic. That's all.
Like, you don't grade the draft after week 2.
No.
You don't really grade the draft after year 1.
3 years.
Got to have a couple years in. Then you grade that draft class.
Anyway, I think that's going to close up shop for today.
Thank you, Lynn and Charlie.
Charlie, did you hear that? He thanked you for the phone call. Next time Lance kicks you off the air, just remember that
JC would never do this.
JC gave you some love, okay? That'll wrap it up for this edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live. Remember, we are here Monday to Friday, 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Dial us up at 201-939-4513. Hashtag Giants Chat on Twitter. He is Jonathan Casillas. I'm Paul Dottino. Remember, you can catch an archive of this program on giants.com/podcasts and all of your favorite podcast platforms everywhere. So long, everybody.